Coming up, I'm going to teach you how to build a mindset for continuous growth. And then the gold standard for decades when it came to CEOs was Howard Schultz from Starbucks, but now the youngsters have wrecked his reputation. All right, helping you get unstuck so that you can live the life that you want. And it involves your work, your education, your money. I'm Ken. This is the Ken Coleman Show. Okay, let's talk about building a habit, if you will, in the mind to where you are just constantly seeking growth. Now, some of you are already exhausted. You're going, I just want to sleep more. I don't want to be in the hustle culture. Okay. Well, I'm going to give you the other side of that because you have two options. You can atrophy or you can grow. That's what you've got. And let's look at your finances. Let's look at your relationships. Let's look at your work life, your mental health, your physical health. I mean, just look at every important area of your life. You have two options: growing or atrophy. I mean, it's just that simple. Now, we're all dying, right? But until that point comes, and there are physical limitations, but even then, there are old people who die a lot faster than others. The ones that are sedentary, sitting physically and sitting mentally, meaning they're sitting there watching TV all day long. They're atrophying mentally, emotionally, and physically. It's not my opinion. These are the facts. Go look it up on the Google. Science will tell you, you science lovers out there, it's not my opinion. So let's look at these two options. These are two options for how you live your life that really color everything you do. Number one, atrophy. This is, I am wasting away. Another way that the dictionary defines atrophy is progressive decline, which is kind of funny, isn't it? Progressive, the very word progressive means I am making progress, but atrophy is I am progressing in my decline. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever broken a bone before or had somebody in your family break a bone and you've had to have a cast. And this to me is the greatest illustration for what atrophy of a muscle looks like and how it happens. So I broke my thumb many years ago, and where the break was, I had to have the cast about halfway up my arm. And when I got the cast taken off, I looked like this. And folks, you can look at me. I mean, look at these dainty wrists. I wish I was a big, strapping, muscular guy. I'm not. I'm a little guy, and I don't have big wrists or big forearms. But I remember looking at my forearm, my left forearm here that had the cast on. I looked at the other one, and it was noticeably smaller. We've all had this happen to us or someone we know, and it is atrophy. And so what happens is this forearm was in a cast. It's immobile, and it is not being used in any way. Because my whole hand is wrapped up, I'm doing very little, any kind of squeezing, tactile, picking up it. And so the muscle is largely immobile. Sedentary, inactive. That leads to atrophy. The muscle literally wastes away from a lack of use. That's atrophy. Most of us choose to live this way in the way that we think mentally. We don't mentally challenge ourselves. As a result, we don't physically challenge ourselves as much. I mean, we just look at the world population. You know what? Let's pull back on the world. I don't want to get too broad here. Let's look at the American population. We're fatter than we've ever been. We're unhealthier than we've ever been. To me, our physical health is a direct result of our mental and spiritual health. You can say emotional as well. It's all tied in together. I'll loop it all in for this discussion. And so the way that you don't get fat and lazy is you are busy and healthy. Right? You're healthy. You're staying active. I'm not going to get fat and lazy. I can't. They can't coexist. So let's look at the other option. So we know what atrophy looks like. It means I'm just, and let me say this before I move on. Atrophy is related to apathy. If my life looks like an apathetic, well, I'm just kind of going to go along. I don't really care. Whatever happens, I'll just survive. I've already decided that I'm going to atrophy, that I'm going to waste away, that I'm going to progressively decline. The other option is to grow. I could say to learn, to try. That's what growth comes from, learning and trying. Or I could say learning and doing something with what I'm learning. So growth is the other option. I can either atrophy and waste away, progressively decline, or I can grow. I can keep learning, keep doing, keep getting better, keep growing. Now, here's what I've learned about growth. If you want to have a growth mindset, you're going to have to embrace two hurdles that if you clear these hurdles, you're guaranteed for growth. The first is resistance. The second is failure. In order to grow, you are going to have to deal with and leverage resistance, and you're going to have to deal with and leverage failure. Let me give you the two examples. So resistance. So I got caught up in the Peloton craze several years ago. Oh, I had to have one. So I got one, and it was fantastic. And I'll tell you, it blew me away. I started taking these classes. And so the first couple times you get on the bike, they do a really good job of training you how to use the bike itself. And on the Peloton bike, if you've never been on a Peloton, and I assume other bikes that are like it the same way, there's a knob right on the main bar of the bike, if you will, between your knees, and you could adjust that knob and it would create more resistance. And so I'll never forget being on the second or third lesson and I was doing it. I did the first time I just did it, and then I went, I need a training class. So I got on, and the guy walks you, there's going to be three things we're doing here, right? And he gives you three metrics, right? So your speed, okay? And then the next was resistance. And if you turn this knob, it became harder to pedal. All right? And that would increase my heart rate. So speed and resistance led to maximum performance because I'm trying to burn calories. So I'm looking at calories and I'm burning more calories the more resistance I have. The second is failure. So when I'm getting resistance, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting impact. And then failure, it's just really simple. I learned my greatest lessons in life when I fail and I sit back and go, why didn't that work? What should I not do next time? What should I do more of next time? Resistance and failure lead to growth. Embrace them.
Do you know what you were born to do? In order to get hired at a job you love, you need to get clear on your talent, passion, and mission. That's why our team created the Career Clarity Guide. In just a few minutes, this free tool will walk you through a process to discover what you do best, that's your talent, the work you love to do, that's your passion, and the results that matter to you, your mission. Then you'll feel more confident throughout the job search process. To get started, go to kencoleman.com/clarity.
Oh boy, the youngsters are fired up about unions. More on that in a second and what that means to you in the greater economy. But first, if you're enjoying this program, thank you. If you are watching via YouTube, would you like this video or any video that you are watching, that helps us grow, and we are growing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you're listening via podcast, give us a follow and a 5-star review, please, if you enjoy it. If you got nothing good to say, don't say anything at all, right? All right, so Starbucks and Howard Schultz are getting hammered by the youngsters. What does this mean? Well, first, some quick context. Howard Schultz was considered a true darling of industry, widely respected for the unbelievable growth under his leadership the first time around at Starbucks. I mean, he was a media darling, a corporate darling. Everybody's like, Howard Schultz can flat out lead. Spoke for crazy amounts of money, all the things. Enjoys retirement. Gets called back in because Starbucks falters. Comes back in and attempts to right the ship. And as he does, he gets hit with this new generation, Gen Z. More on that in a moment. Who have been tempted and swayed by the concept of unions. Not a new thing in America. Well, he was in D.C. just last week getting grilled by senators about accusations that Starbucks, under his leadership, attempted to interfere with unionization and collective bargaining efforts at its stores. While he was CEO, he recently stepped down. I think he just said, I had it. I think he just said, you know what? I'm done. I don't need this. I'm Howard frickin' Schultz. I'm worth a lot of money. So he's done. No longer CEO. So, as I mentioned at the start of this, Schultz was a real darling of the media, other corporate leaders, and had a great image, a pristine image. And now the youngsters have taken his reputation out because now he's known as Mr. Anti-Union, which he is, and he should be. More on that in a moment. Well, where is America? I mean, what are the tea leaves? What are the tea leaves telling us? Well, America has changed its opinion over time about unions and large companies. Unions are now looked upon favorably. Large companies, bad, evil, big companies, bad. But we shop there. Well, Gen Z, people born from 1997 to 2012, are very, very open, even enthusiastic in some cases, about unions. But Schultz for years took the case at Starbucks that a Starbucks employee didn't need a union because they had better benefits than just about anybody else, and was very open about how great it was. Some of those things were average pay for a store employee is $17.50. Let me tell you something. That's a very high hourly wage for that type of retail service industry work. They got stock options, tuition assistance, Starbucks health insurance option for part-time workers was a big deal. And he talked about that. His statement in the hearings were, if you look at the 50s and 60s, unions were generally working on behalf of people in a company where those people had not been treated fairly. He's right. And went on to say, in some cases, they were nefarious acts by the employer taking advantage of the employee. And that's right. I will tell you, as a guy who is anti-union, that historically, at the inception of unions in this country, there were bad things happening to workers, and the intent of the unions was pure, dare I say, needed at that time. However, as with anything good, it can be used for bad. And I believe that this is what happens to anything. Politics gets involved in your local school, in your church, in your neighborhood association, meaning when people start trying to get political and get power, because that's what politics is, power, ruling, speaking on behalf of other people, when that enters into any, if you've ever been to a church business meeting where it got political, slam the door on your face. I got involved in my neighborhood association several years ago when we lived in Atlanta. I lasted 2 meetings. Politics. Politics has gotten involved in unions. Now, I'm going to tell you why unions aren't good for business and thus are not good for this economy, and that means they're not good for you. I'm going to tie this all in for you. But here's where America stands on this. A Gallup poll in August found that 71% of those surveyed approve of labor unions. The last time support for organized labor was that high was in 1965. However, only 16% said that they or someone in their household were part of a labor union. So they're saying, I'm in favor of it, but I'm not in one, and nobody I know is either, so I'm not sure they truly understand it. But thankfully, folks, I'm on the wall today. I'll tell you why unions are bad. 84% of respondents who said they had no connection to a union, just over half said they were not interested at all in joining a union. So that's good. Now, why are unions bad for workers, bad for business, bad for the economy, bad for you? Here we go. And your daddy and your mama may not have taught you this. So sit up straight, because this is common sense stuff, and you can wrestle with this. Disagree with me? Fine. But at least wrestle with it. Number one, all this representation that a union promises for the employer, because that's why it's attractive to young Gen Zers. That's why 71% of Americans will go, yeah, I'm in favor of unions because they fight for the little man. They fight for the worker. Okay, that's the whole pitch. They have our best interest in mind. Well, they're not just representing you because they love you. They're getting paid to do it. There are union dues. Do some homework on how those union dues get spent. On campaigns, on perks for union leaders, swanky offices. It's all politics, folks. Dig into this. Challenge me on this. So unions aren't free. They cost workers more money. And then unions almost always create tension between the workers and the company leadership. These things don't go amicably very often, and there's always tension. There's no true free flow of communication. It is always a negotiation, and that is never healthy. Third, unions don't always align with the wishes of the workers. They got rulers, baby. You could pay your dues and vote and be in a union, but guess what? At the end of the day, it's not your voice that is heard. You're told what to do, how to vote, and why. Your political leaders are making the decision. And because of this, the true individuality of the worker is squashed. You give it away when you become a part of a union. You're not making decisions that only you can make. You're a part of the bigger group. And then, because of these negotiations and increases with all this stuff, companies have to raise their prices. And when companies raise their prices, this gets passed on to the customer. This affects the economy, and this affects you. Listen, we have too many laws on the books. There's too many good things. You're not going to get abused in today's world to the point that you need a union. You don't need them. We don't need them. Unions are about politics. Unions are about increasing prices. Unions are about tamping down a true capitalistic economy. You ought to be against them, and actively.
Are you wondering if you should leave your current job or stay put? You're not alone. That's why we created the Should I Quit My Job quiz. In just 5 minutes or less, this quiz will help you determine if you're at the right company and if you're in the right role. If you need to make a move, you'll even get practical next steps to keep you moving forward. Listen, stuck is a choice, and life is too short not to do what you were created to do. To take the quiz, go to kencoleman.com/quiz.
All right, artificial intelligence is coming for your job. Run for the hills! No, you don't need to run for the hills. You need to be informed and you need to adapt. But this is the message. And boy, these headlines are coming out every day. So I am a man of the people, by the people, for the people. I'm here to help you avoid mistakes. I'm here to help you be prepared for shifts, be prepared for recessions, be prepared for a layoff, so that you realize, look, I got control of my life no matter what they throw at me. No matter what culture throws at me, I can be free and I can live the life I want. So here we go. How about some positive news on the AI side? So the rapid ascension of artificial intelligence has got a bunch of people scared, headlines coming out every day, and yet you can adapt and you will adapt. But there are some parts of industry that seemingly are bulletproof from AI. According to researchers at the University of Pennsylvania, they identified nearly 36 jobs that they don't believe are in danger of being exposed to artificial intelligence. So we're going to go through some of these. At the top of the list, and there's a pattern here, you'll see, and I will reveal if you don't see it. At the top of the list is electrical power line installers and repairs. Yikes! According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, power line installers and repairs can command a salary of nearly $80,000. However, while it's safe from AI, it has a higher degree of fatalities. This job ranked 10th among civilian occupations with high fatal work injury rates. All right, athletes can breathe a sigh of relief. Duh. But let's look at some more practical, everyday jobs, and let's see if you, as you listen and watch, can you identify a theme here about jobs that are apparently artificial intelligence proof. You're not going to lose your job to the robots or to the computers. Here we go. Wellhead pumpers. I don't even know what that is, but it's oil field. Okay, thank you, Joe. Joe's always got my back on the everyday real work that I'm clueless about. Rail track lane. Maintenance equipment operators. By the way, I actually took a call on this show from a guy who's been a welder for about 15 years. And he had been offered an opportunity to work for another welding company, but he was going to be monitoring a machine that was going to do the welding. So the machine was doing the welding, but he was monitoring the machine. I thought, well, that's fun. We're all worried about AI, but now we're hiring humans to pay attention to a machine. So this is the adaptation that you have to understand. So that's really on message here. Roof bolters, miners, all of these jobs between $60,000 to $62,000 a year. Now, lower income positions with a median salary between $27,000 and $33,000 were jobs like bartender helpers, tire repairs, meat packers, short order cooks, and beyond. Do you see a theme now? Do you see a theme? I see two themes. One, trade jobs are not going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. And I hope this leads to a renaissance or a revival, is probably the better word for trades, where parents and young people aren't turned off by the hard work, but are turned on by a profitable path. Yes, it's hard work. If you work as an HVAC repairman, you are going to be really, really cold. At times, you will be really, really hot. At times, you will be really, really dirty. You might have a dog attack you every once in a while. I'm trying to think of all the hazards, right? What makes it hard? I mean, listen, your bones are going to hurt, your joints. You're going to have blisters. It's hard. But you know what the return is for hard work on the trades and in the trades? Good money, stability, agility in that you can do multiple trades, upward mobility. What? What do you mean, Ken? I'll tell you. You take somebody that gets in the trades, they learn the trade. Let me give you a real life example. Let me tell you about my friend Arthur. I've never told you all in the booth about my friend Arthur, but Arthur is a perfect example of this. Let me tell you about my friend Arthur. So my friend Arthur was always really good with his hands, and he was very handy, and he was, he could fix stuff and build stuff. And so he got into the construction industry. Started out as a carpenter. Was a good carpenter, but he was really good with people. So he got a job with a builder, and he became the builder's right hand. So he really moved into a project manager, a foreman role. So he could build, do anything that the carpenters could do, but over time he became trustworthy and he was really good relationally. So this builder hired him and he became a foreman of a carpentry crew. About 2 years after that, Arthur goes from foreman of a carpentry crew to becoming a general manager for a contractor. So he ran the entire operation for the contractor, making six figures, low six figures, but this is where he is. So Arthur decides he wants to eventually work for himself. Because he knows the construction industry from every side, inside, every way that you can know it because he's working for the contractor, Arthur realized, you know what? I enjoy the intricacies of plumbing. When we hire these plumbers to come in and plumb the house and get it all ready, I really enjoy that. And he began to talk to these plumbers. And he began to understand how much money they make, how they ran their business. And so Arthur decided, while making six figures, as he just worked his way up in the trades, to go get his plumbing license and got all the training. He did. He went out on his own. And I talked to Arthur about a year ago at a poker game, and I said, Arthur, how you doing? And Arthur went on to tell me he's doing better than he ever is before because he owns his own company. He then got the electrical licensing, so now he offers electrical, and he's got multiple electricians and multiple plumbers working underneath of him, and he's busier than he can actually be, and he's looking for more people. He's making more money than ever, and he has built a sustainable small business to not only is Arthur now a millionaire, but Arthur is employing and training other young people and explaining to them the path that he took. Arthur's not worried about artificial intelligence. By the way, Arthur spent a long time doing hard, dirty work. But Arthur's not doing dirty work anymore, and he's not doing a whole lot of hard work anymore. Arthur's counting his money. Arthur's taking great vacations. Arthur is pouring into the next generation. Do you think Arthur's parents are proud of him? What do you think? Oh, I forgot to mention in the whole story of Arthur that Arthur doesn't have his college degree. What a loser Arthur is. A millionaire who worked his way up in the trades, has now started 2 small businesses, is employing people, growing his business, helping them grow their life. This feels like the American dream to me. And yet, you go into America's high schools today, nobody's talking about Arthur. You know what they're telling you? You need to get good grades and get a good ACT and SAT score so you can go to a good college and get a good degree so you can be successful. And Arthur and the Arthurs of the world are laughing all the way to the bank. This becomes a real option when you talk about artificial intelligence and how technology is going to change the landscape of work. Let me tell you what's not going to change. We're going to need people who are willing to do hard work with their hands. They're going to be more valuable than ever. Wake up, America. There's an opportunity. It's called the trades.
Did you know that recruiters take an average of 6 seconds to scan a resume? And that's if they ever see it in the first place. In fact, 75% of resumes are rejected before reaching a hiring manager. Listen, folks, if you want to get hired, you've got to make your resume worth noticing. That's why we created How to Write the Perfect Resume. This free guide will walk you through the 5 steps to stand out in the hiring process to get you your dream job. If you want to get started, go to kencoleman.com/resume.
Oh, yes. I'm here for you, folks. I'm here for you big time. I want you to get the clarity you need so you can just live the life you want, the life that you long to live, to be free of the system. Just go do you. And let's do that, shall we? Albany, New York is where Vin joins us. Vin, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, Ken. How you doing today?
I'm living the dream.
All
What
right.
are you doing?
I'm honored to be on your show.
Well, I'm
Honored to
honored.
be.
Thank you, sir. How can I help you?
Well, so here's the situation. I got a family business. I mean, after listening to Arthur's story, you're going to think I'm out of my mind. But okay.
No, I got you, man.
So we got family business, been in business for 40 years, and, you know, I've been groomed to do this my whole life, and now my dad is getting close to retirement age, and I'm asking around, like, about succession planning and all this stuff, and he was like, well, I don't have a plan, you know, I just kind of figured it out. I was like, well, yeah, but that was when it was you. Now we have 25 employees, so, you know, we kind of need to have a plan. And
Yep.
he's just been brushing me off, and I'm like, honestly, it feels like a slap in the face.
Yeah, sure.
You know, growing up, that was it. It was just family business. I didn't have another option.
Yeah.
So I just, at this point, I'm like, why am I wasting my time?
Well, the question I think that's the right question, and I think the reason is because you don't want to disappoint family.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
Who's the ultimate? What's the succession plan look like to the best of your knowledge?
To the best of my knowledge, my dad's going to work till he can't anymore, and then say, all right, here you go.
To
Here's
you.
the business. Good luck.
To you.
And my brother.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this. If they had not brushed you off, if your dad had not brushed you off and he sat down and gave you a clear plan, do you want it anyway?
I mean, at this point, I'm not really sure. You know, my wife and I were thinking, you know, being in New York, we pay a lot of taxes. It's cold.
Yeah.
So we kind of want to get out of here anyway. So I think now, since there is no plan now, it's like, it's kind of a moot point. I actually even wrote up a business plan to help do this. I was going to present it to him.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. Let's just for a moment, and I know this is hard to do, but let's suspend all of reality up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that he did have a clear plan, and let's say in the next year he was going to put you in charge, you and your brother, and you and your brother were on the same page. That's a tricky deal too, you and your brother running it. That's got some dynamics. That might work.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just say everything was hunky-dory. Is this the business you want to run? This type of business? Forget the family business. Is this the kind of work you want to do?
Yeah, I'm like, no, I mean, I've been doing it for
Listening.
over a decade.
No. Vin, listen to yourself. Listen to how you answered that question.
Yeah.
Let's just say I call you and your wife up and I go, guys, I got a great gig for Vin in Florida. Oh, it's hot and muggy. Or I got a great gig for him in Nashville. You get all 4 seasons. You get out of Albany. You got no income tax. Live in Nashville, all 4 seasons, mild. Everybody's nice. We got sweet tea and hot chicken, baby. And it's yours for the taking. But it's the same business that you're in now. Do you want it? What would you say?
I'd probably have reservations. I mean, you know, it's in construction.
See my point? Vin,
yeah.
It's not what you want to do. You called me, and I think you're looking for permission. You don't need it. But I think you're looking for confidence to say that I don't want to do this. Is this wacky? And I'm telling you it's not wacky. And I'm also telling you that if you don't separate from this business, you are highly, highly likely to resent your dad one day. if you don't already. Well,
Yeah.
I think you
you're probably right.
I think you need to decide what future you want. What does life look like for Vin? This is what I'm good. Hey, look, this is what I'm talking about at my event, the breakthrough event. It's like, I want people to get to the point where you go, I'm clear on what future I want and why I want it. And now that I'm clear on it, I'm confident that I can go do it, and I know where I want to do it, and I'm going to go do it. This is about freedom, Vin. And I think you're asking for permission to be free, and I'm giving it to you, even though you don't need it. You want to be free to live the life that you want. Yes or no?
Yes. Absolutely.
Then take the freedom. Hang on the line. I'm going to give you my wildly popular assessment called the Get Clear Assessment, my #1 best-selling book, From Paycheck to Purpose, that goes with it. These are the 2 tools you need. Take the assessment, read the book, decide, do. Hang on the line.
According to Glassdoor, the average job offer attracts over 250 applicants. If you've made it to the interview, you've already made a great impression. So now is the time to showcase how you are the best choice for the role. That's why we created How to Win the Interview. This free guide will walk you through the 5 strategies to help you stand out amongst the competition. With just some intentionality, you can prepare yourself to win the interview. Go to kencoleman.com/interview.
All right, folks, the economy is uncertain at best. Recession is being predicted. We don't know when. We don't know how intense it's going to be. The feds keep raising interest rates. You got unions blowing up. You got the Fed trying to drive up unemployment, and you're sitting out there going, this is all uncertain and very scary. What can I do, Ken? The answer is, you can get really clear on the life that you want and how you go get it. And you can have confidence because you are clear on this is what I'm going to do. To not let the economy, to not let Congress, to not let any outside factor hold me back from living the life I want. I can make the money that I want to make, and I can live the way I want to live, do the work I want to do. If you want to get from where you are to where you want to be, and you're worried about all these other circumstances, you need to get clear on what you want to do, why, where, and how. And then you're not worried about all these other circumstances. Financially, professionally, personally, you need breakthrough, or how to always get breakthrough, how to break through all the cultural crap. That's what my event's going to help you do. Chicago, Illinois, May 16th, Atlanta, Georgia, May 18th, Dallas, Texas, May 23rd. These are the 3 dates we've got left on the tour, and I'm telling you, this is for you. If you just feel like I'm not where I want to be, I'm worried about my financial future, I'm worried about my professional future, and I want to be in control. There's very little you can't control, but there are a few things you can, and they make you unstoppable from anything that's happening in culture. I'm going to tell you what the formula is, how you do it. We're going to take your questions live in the crowd. May 16th, Chicago. May 18th, Atlanta. May 23rd, Dallas, Texas. Get your tickets. All the information at kencoleman.com/events. kencoleman.com/events. Can I just tell you, these are intimate theaters. It's going to be fun. I'm going to be unplugged, baby, even more so than I am on the show. That's either good or bad. kencoleman.com/events. Catherine's on the line in St. Petersburg, Florida. Catherine, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hi, Ken. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's going on?
Hey, it's really great to be on your show. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You bet.
I've been watching you a lot lately, and it's an honor to be here. So I was hired in my position about 90 days ago, just hit my 90 days, and I was hired to take over someone's book who had been, she's currently retiring. And they told me, she's going to stay on for like 3 to 6 months, and she's going to, teach you the ropes of the accounts and then hand everything over to you. And she's also at the same time going to be training these other salespeople because she's kind of like got a dual role. And she's going to focus on them, but she's going to pass everything over to you. I have 14 years of experience in the field that I'm in, and from like day one, like she's just very erratic, giving me like it's tough because it's like she's trying to tell me what to do, micromanaging me, disrespecting me, and I'm not sure how to navigate everything. And it's very confusing. I don't know if that makes sense. There's probably a lot of different stories I could tell to kind of clarify it, but.
Well, yeah, I think you just nailed it. You're confused. You were told one thing, you were given a very clear reality, and all of a sudden you get there, and the rug's been pulled out from underneath of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like she's treating me like I'm an assistant and trying to tell me like every little tiny thing to do and how to do basic math even. And I'm like, come on. I know how to do that.
Yeah, but you know why that's happening? Now let me ask you this before I say that. When you were told that, were you told that by her, that did she look at you and say, I'm getting out of here soon and you're going to be my replacement, or did somebody else tell you that?
Somebody else pretty much. I mean, she was in the interview, but someone else told me. And
is she the owner?
No, she's not. She's not the owner. And my supervisor has always had issues with her in the past, and I wonder if I'm not the second person that tried to take over her role, to be honest.
Okay, I wasn't sure I'm sorry for asking that. I just didn't know if this was her business, but she's just in a position, and she has a leader over her.
Yes, correct.
And they've had this problem. They've had this problem with her before, correct?
It sounds like it. Yeah, they said they've had run-ins with her.
Okay, who's deciding when she leaves? Her or the supervisor?
She's deciding when she leaves. And I asked my supervisor, I'm like, so how long, do you think this is going to keep going on? And, how long is she going to stay on board? And she's like, I don't know. And then I get a call from her later that day, and she's like, so in regards to you wondering when I'm going to retire, whenever I feel like it, that's when. Could be a year. I don't know.
My gosh.
I was like,
your supervisor threw you under the bus.
It sounds like she did. So I'm just kind of like, who's on my side?
Nobody.
I don't know who to go to.
Nobody. So here's what's going on. You're being pummeled by two fearful people. Your supervisor is afraid to tell this old battle axe to leave. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Seriously. I don't know what else it would be. You were told by the supervisor that you're her replacement, and I guess she's training you. You're in that period of training, and yet she's treating you like you're an imbecile.
Yeah,
and that's coming from fear too. The old battle axe is afraid that you're going to replace her and do a better job, and I think she's trying to make you miserable, and she may not even realize what she's doing. I think it's psychological, and I'm not saying that she's not doing it on purpose, but I think she is protecting herself. She doesn't want to go. Her insecurities, that's fear-based, are driving the way she's treating you. She's trying to drive you out. Because if she pushes you away, it lengthens the amount of time before she leaves. But the longer you're there, and the more, the word is not adequate, the more effective you are, it hastens her exit. And I don't think she wants to leave. I think she's holding on for dear life.
Huh.
Does that feel right?
Oh, man.
Does that feel right to you?
Yeah, I think it sounds pretty close. I mean, a part of me is like, don't you want to retire? Like, I thought that was the whole point of this. Like, why?
Yeah. The real problem in this is not the old battle axe. I understand. I don't agree with what she's doing. But I understand her situation more than I understand your supervisor. I don't know why your supervisor, who hired you and told you that you were her replacement, is throwing you under the bus. It feels very manipulative. It feels like the supervisor is afraid to confront the old battle axe and is trying to make the battle axe uncomfortable or angry, or make you uncomfortable so that you leave and they don't have to deal with the reality. That's what I feel like is going on. This is all a function of weak leadership. Your supervisor is a weakling.
Interesting. I mean, and what's so crazy too is it's like, she told me like, you need to push back on her. Like, we hired you to take over this role, and you're just supposed to take the knowledge of the accounts.
Well, then do it.
And push back.
Okay. Then you have to decide. Do you want to give this another shot, or are you ready to walk?
It's hard because some days I'm just like, this is impossible.
I get it.
Because she's literally trying to make me look bad at every corner, and my confidence is already I'm nervous. You know, it's a new job.
But my point is
it's been a while.
But my point is, do you want to fight for this, or are you saying I can go replace this job and just be done with this chapter of my life?
Oh, it's such a good question because it's an amazing role. It's literally.
All right, then. So here's the deal. So then you have to take your supervisor's word for it. You got to go, okay, now listen. I got some advice. You can blame it on me if you want. Or you can just say, I got some advice. And I'm going to take you at your word. You told me to push back, so here's what I think that looks like. I don't want to get cut off at the knees here with you. She's not going to tell me and treat me that way anymore. I'm not going to let her. And I do think the old lady's a bit of a bully here, and I think the way to stand up to bullies is just to be brave. You don't have to be ugly back. I don't think that'll work, but I think you just talk to the hand. Ignore her. Don't let her get to you. Be the bigger person. This is a great opportunity for you. Your future's tied to this. The old lady ain't going to be around forever. You know what, old lady? You're trying to push me out. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take you trying to push me out and bully me. I'm going to stand up to you and raise your bullying, and I'm going to wait you out. That's what I would do.
Nice. I love it.
Take the power back. Don't listen to her.
Hard.
No, I know.
So hard.
Yeah, but you know why it's hard? Because you don't want to confront her, but it's a muscle. You don't have to be ugly. Just stand up to her. Ignore her.
Thanks for listening to The Ken Coleman Show. For more, you can find the show on demand wherever you listen to podcasts and watch the show on YouTube. You can also find Ken across all social media by following @Ken Coleman.